So my next video, I'll just see you in the last one. Nah, I'm just kidding. But anyway, yeah, this one is space flight for humans going to Mars. Now, I often hear this. Now, I need to clear this up, okay? So, yeah, I hear people saying this, and I wonder if this is just me right now. So we're just talking about protection from solar flares in this video. So, but particular one, if this camera here is the sun, and this is my spacecraft, it's actually a pencil. I know it's a pencil, but I need you to imagine, okay? And I'm Mars, okay? This is Mars, and you're coming toward it, and you're the sun. I hear people say that when you travel to Mars, you'd need the astronauts to get into the back of the ship if there was a solar flare. Okay. Does anybody understand what I'm trying to get at right now? That if you went to the back of the ship, doesn't this make you more douche? If you're the sun, your solar flares are going to hit me first at the back of my ship, right? So don't you need to get to the front of the ship? You know, because facing Mars, front of the ship, you're not exactly facing the sun. So I'm a little confused about that one. So yeah, so when I say we would need the astronauts to get into the front of the ship, that's why I'm saying it. Because if I imagine you being the sun, I'm the Mars, or Mars, the Mars? Yeah, I like it. I'm not going to edit that out. So being Mars, and you're coming this way, and then all of a sudden a solar flare comes out from you, your astronauts need to get in here because there's a whole lot of ship for this radiation to get through before it gets to you. Now, next thing I hear, which I think is a brilliant idea, but at the same time, I kind of find a flaw in it. Just a little one, nothing major. Okay, so here it is, from what I understand. So, I don't even know how I'm going to actually get this out without giggling a little bit, so I'm going to give it a go. Ooh, okay, right. So, astronauts, when they're going to Mars, let's say, will need to go poopy inside a bag, correct? Seal that bad boy shut, give it a smash up, and then we're going to stick it on the inside of the craft. Is that right? And because it contains hydrogen, if I get this right, it should stop some of the radiation from a CME solar flare from entering. Nah, not as much. It dampens it down, so it should reduce. So if the astronauts were in here and this was their wall of feces in a bags, it should stop a lot of the nasty bits getting in to stop them getting cancer. Is that right? Am I thinking about this right? Did I hear that right? If so, when I heard it, is it correct? The scientist that was saying it. Now, love it. Think it's a great idea. I never ever thought this day would come where I would say I'd love that. Anyway, so moving on. So I've been doing a little bit of thinking. Actually, I did some doodling this morning. Actually, this has been on my brain for a week. So since I did the last video, this popped into my head, along with something else, because my daughter said, why does everything spin in the universe? Okay, that's a whole different level there, and that is just like trying to talk to her about space and stuff. She has a lovely knack of just shutting up the conversation. Why does it all spin, Dad? Yeah, let me get back to you on that one. Anyways, that's a different story. I did explain it to her, but I don't think she really got it. But anyway, so this one, since then, has been on my mind. So I did this really quickly this morning. It didn't take very long. But I'm wondering whether I got the process right. So I might not, because this is a very new subject to me. So we will go over and look at this a bit more in detail. So I scribbled this one down just to see if it's feasible. I like my little stickman astronauts. Can you see them in there? Don't they look cool? Yeah, awesome. So along with the video that I was talking about mining the moon, there's a particular reason why I would love us to do that. Why is that? Well, because there's this thing called hydrogen 3, I believe. And it just got me thinking. So there's hydrogen, I'm just going to call it that. I don't know if it's hydrogen 1 or 2, whatever we experience here when you extract it from water, let's say. Yeah, I have no idea what that one is. So is that hydrogen 2? No idea. So let's say we take away this gas. And also, there was another one I was thinking about as well, which was, again, out of this world. I'm not sure if it would work or not. So in my time, I've been looking at gases. I love gases and planetary gases, trying to understand gases, that one gas just behaves differently to another. So butane, methane. Yeah, methane lakes on Titan. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Is it Titan? It could be. Or is it Triton? No, it's Titan. It feels right to say Titan. Anyway, so there are methane lakes on there. And to understand that it has water on it, yeah, for sure. But this water is so hard that if you were to take any of man's tools to try and get into this water on Titan, good luck with that. And take a long list of backup of tools, because I think you're going to need it. Because I think it's almost impossible to actually extract water from that planet. I say it's impossible. I think it could be done, maybe, but I just think that we'd just blunt everything that we were trying, because it's so hard. So ice or water on Titan is like rock. Wow, that's fascinating. I was having this conversation with my daughter today about it. It's what such a fine range we live in, that Goldilocks zone of not too hot, not too cold. And just the way, if you move our planet slightly, the way the gases behave so much more differently. I find that incredible. So, you know, if we move too far away from the sun, the atmosphere collapses back down. Crazy. That is crazy. Anyway, and if you move it too close, it can puff up more. That is incredible. I find that absolutely strange. And if you go even further back, water, everything has a different freezing grade. So at a different temperature, something will freeze, and then even more of a temperature plummet down below zero, it will freeze even more. And then I just look at the gas giants and then think about Jupiter, how their gases just keep going. And would you find water there because of it being so far away? And then they'll say yes, because of the heat that it generates inside. It's just crazy. Gases, I love gases and the way they act. All different gases act, and they have a different freezing point as well. They must have a different boiling point, and it's just in between this level Earth, it's just in between it that we actually are able to have water. It's crazy just the way gases behave. When you have a lot of them, they pool on the surface due to the pressure. I just find pressure, gases, and all of this thing absolutely fascinating. Love it. That is not the point of this one. So the point of this one was, when learning about different gases, I believe that there were several things that we could do to deflect, let's say, the particles that enter the Earth. So number one is ozone. I believe that ozone plays a part in stopping a large level of these horrible rays, let's say, or particles from the sun coming into Earth and giving us all nasty niggly cancer. Another one is hydrogen. So in this design, I have included ozone, and I've included hydrogen and hydrogen 3 as well. Just wondering whether this would work, as well as the astronauts' excrements. Is that right? That could be. So, as well as their excrements. Is that even a right word? It sounds so different. Anyway, so yeah, so we've got these like 4 layers. I love to look at things as onion, and each skin is another layer of the onion of protection. Whew. And one more is magnetism, electromagnetism. Now, I'm not sure whether this one would work or not, but I've still put it on there, on there. Well, it's in the craft, but it's on the paper. Either way, you have to figure that one out yourself, which one sits well with your brain. So, electromagnetic field generator, I called that. So, that is a mouthful. And I often wonder about Earth, because, you know, it was all positioning this. So if we imagine it being circular, from a bird's eye perspective, it doesn't actually look like a sphere. So if we just imagine it as a circle for now, and you have let's say north and south, so south and north, and we have the lights, don't we? So is that indicating that the particles are reacting with the atmosphere because they're zipping into these bits, and they're also zipping in at the south now and again, and it means the bit around the equator is the protected zone. I can't even get that out today. There. Anyway, so we got layers of protection. So I was wondering that if this is the front of the ship here, and remember when I said if we'd need to get into the front of the ship and we'd hope that the sun would be behind us, and thus by doing so I put the north here and the south here, and I believe the protected zone is here. So I imagined it like the equator, and maybe we would have some influences here, and maybe we'd have some little spacecrafty northern lighties going on there. Now, that was not all I did. I don't know if you can see it. We'll flip this around in a minute, go in a bit more detail, but a compressor and a decompressor right here. So in the time that there is a solar flare, I think you could probably get 8 minutes maybe worth of warning. At least. Oh, I'm being generous, aren't I? I'm being generous to my little stickmen space crew. I love them. Anyway, and you know, so if we had 8 minutes, what would happen then? Because I believe hydrogen is just not great on a spacecraft, nor is this ozone. The ozone, I think we could leave on the outer rim, which is here. This one here is filled with a gas of ozone. Then we have the magnet, electromagnet and electromagnet here. One depicts south, one depicts north, and that should generate over here. And then you have the airlock here, which is also covered with a ozone door, and this one here is attached with Velcro, although I did put that in, and this would pop open and the astronauts would get inside here, and this one would already be inflated, the door, so it'd just be like a Velcro door with a couple of handles on it. So imagine a drain, if you would, when you're going to pull it down. It would be the same way, but from a side view, and the Velcro would be around the outside. I'm pretty sure the radiation or the particles haven't learned Velcro just yet, so we're pretty safe. And this one would stay inflated, but this one, however, these gas cylinders here would compress and create a nice, I don't know what you would call it, a pillow effect. Just inflate a nice cushion here, or pockets. And they would be all round, but again, just like my Earth here was circle, we're just looking at this one as if we could see through all of this. And I drew the gases in green, coloured those in nice and green, 2 different types of green to depict. Hydrogen 3 is like a slight darker green, and just hydrogen is light green. So we've got light and dark green. This one runs to the inner pocket. There's a horseshoe shape, and the Velcro door would slot into there and hold down, and this one would already be inflated, so I think it'd be quite lightweight. Now, I was wondering if the astronauts would coat this in their pockets. They'd use their little feces pockets and stick those to the inside, add in another layer. But in the process of this, I was wondering whether using liquid, keep pumping this gas in until it started to condense a liquid inside these pockets. If so, would this have more chance of deflecting the radiation and stop them from getting radiation? Not 100% sure there where that one would go. Whether you would keep filling this in, and then if so, would this need to withstand a liquid? I think it should be able to do that anyway. Nice little pressure gauge here so it doesn't overinflate. And likewise when it's removing the pressure from here, because we won't want the gas to stay in there all the time just in case it leaks out. So I don't know, I think they might have to stay in there for up to 2 weeks depending on the flare, the size of the flare. So if they were able, again, this is only, I haven't done this to scale, everything's all miss and match in sizes. It's just to get you the idea, that's all, just to give you the idea. And yeah, these would then basically inflate when there was a flare, nicely done, and then they would deflate, if that's even a word, and they would put the gas back into the cylinder again. So, you know, out in out in, all depends on how long they needed to stay in there for. They would also have a kitchen, a bathroom, XYZ food supplies. They wouldn't need to leave it. They could control everything from here. Bit claustrophobic, but this is quite big. Don't underestimate how much room there is inside here. There is quite a lot. So yes, they would be comfortable, but it wouldn't be as comfortable as having the run of the whole ship, let's say. So this one would be at the front, and the reason why it would be at the front is because a large amount of the ship would also act as a type of filter, let's say, that would block out any of that, not all of it, but most of it. And I think that's what it needs to be. You need to get most of it out in order for this to be a success. So the more you are able to lower this radiation penetrating, I think the better the crew will be. So I'm not saying that this is going to rid it all, but it might not. So it's just a level of an idea right now. So I don't know. I still can't get over why you would use feces. I think it's because it contains hydrogen. Not 100% sure. And it's a type of, I don't know, maybe a matter that it really gets into and just absorbs into. I'm not 100% sure on that. That one's still very new for me, to be fair. Very, very new. But I jotted this one down anyway because I thought, maybe it's worth the thought process and a quick scribble. It took me all 5 minutes. Actually, it took me a little bit longer than that, but only because I did a couple of scribbles beforehand of really trying to understand this process of maybe how could we do it? Could we do it like this? Maybe could we add a deflector shield here and pump some magnetism in it? Again, I was thinking if we did it from the side, but then wouldn't this encourage the particles to go through this way like it does the Northern Lights? So maybe it would need to be this way, and the sun would be over here, so it would then deflect like it does on Earth. So I did do a few of these sketches just to really try and get the process down, tube if you like. A little bit more better spacemen there, they're all awesome, and space women. So, you know, but yeah, front of the ship, I'm not sure. So I will flip the camera around. I'm going to keep this one quite short because it's not really in all that great detail, but it might help. So the only way to know if this would or wouldn't work is to test it, and you would need some sort of I don't know, radiation meter in the middle here. Make this into a small shoebox size, really, and you have a little radiation meter inside here, and go stick it on the surface of the moon and see what readings you get, or put it out in space, International Space Station, and just see what readings you're able to get in here as opposed to outside it. So if you were outside, this thing was just around the space station, let's say, you would have one inside the space station and one of those meter readers inside here. And if there was a difference, it would obviously indicate, oh, hang on a minute, this actually seems to be working all right, or it might not be. So, you know, it's trial and error with this one, I think, just to figure it all out. It's an extra layer. The only reason why I was thinking about the space astronauts excrements on the wall is, what if they just got going and they didn't build up enough of this, they hadn't been in space long enough to fill the bags up with enough radiation blockant, let's say. I don't want to say what it is, but whatever. So it's just not built up enough. They haven't been there long enough to have made quite a complete wall. I'm just not sure whether that would work that way, so maybe this could be the answer. Until then, it might be another layer to the onion, and as they go, they will obviously generate a lot of waste and be able to put that on the wall and then build up a sufficient amount to actually have, then it's getting onto Mars. I believe that it has less of a magnetic field, but I do believe it has magnetized rock, massive iron rock that's magnetized, highly magnetized. So like the inner core perhaps spat out its guts many years ago. And could that possibly lower radiation at all? If so, would this go on to be the habitat? And could you then get all of your habitats built with this process? And would it work? And I'm not saying that you wouldn't lose your gas, because you might eventually, but at least it's I don't know, if you were to pump it in here and leave it, it could slowly but surely start to deflate, you know, bit by bit. So obviously they're in space suits as well, due to just in case there was a leak. So if there was a leak of this gas and the astronauts breathed it, I don't think it would be very good for them. So if they were in their space suits, it eliminates that risk as well. So we're not filling the whole area with the gas, we're just filling the outer edges of the gas, and inside here would probably be the normal air they breathe, but just in case it ever leaked, there would probably be a detector inside here. So if they did want to take their suits off, because 2 weeks in a suit, wow, that's a long time. So you know, there could be a detector in there, so as soon as it started going off like your fire alarm would, they quickly get into their suits, and then they have to figure out where the hole could be, and this, that and the other. So yeah, so with all that being said, I'm going to flip the camera around and then we can have a look at this drawing and I can go through it a little bit more in a bit more detail. And then I've got one more video to do after this one, so 3 today. So yeah, and then hopefully I can get these out of my mind and then move on to some other tasks, because I got, as I say, it's been a very busy week. It's been brilliant. So yeah, I got more stuff to move on with. So great. So see you in a bit. So here we have it, and as you can see, the astronauts are in here. Here is the door with the Velcro. We have the EMFG, which is kind of put it down as electromagnetic field generator just for now. You've got your tank of hydrogen 3, which is this color, and then you have just hydrogen and it pumps in this one and it's this color. So we got light green, dark green. So that's basically what happens. So if there's a CME, let's say a large amount of it's going to be coming, loads of particles, very dangerous. Oh, also we have on the outside here is the ozone layer. So walls with a thin layering of ozone gas pumped into them. So it's practically what we've got on Earth. Inside this environment here would be just your standard air, let's say, that we breathe here on Earth every day. So they wouldn't need suits, maybe, as I was saying, if you were to have, I don't know, like a little sensor inside here, which would then basically go off if it detected any hydrogen leaking out into it. And then they would have to get into their suits and figure out if there's, I don't know, a breach somewhere in the wall and fix it. So everything they would need would be inside here. So it would be like living quarters, sleeping quarters, kitchen, you name it, it's all inside here. And how this would work, so we wouldn't keep the gases inside these, I don't know, I called them pockets, but I don't know, if the temperature inside the actual craft was a decent temperature, then I don't know, maybe these would be a success to have these completely running throughout the whole of the craft. I don't know. So again, at the front of the craft is here, and the back of the craft is somewhere way off camera over there. So if Mars is here where my finger is, and this is the craft, the sun, I believe, would be at the back. So it would be ideal to run to the front of the spacecraft and not the back of the spacecraft. So I don't know. I hear most people say, oh, they have to run to the back of the craft. Well, wouldn't that put you in firing line from the sun's rays? It makes you more closer, not rays, particles. So anyway, getting back to the picture or drawing, and then we've got the south and north here, which is the electromagnetic field generator. So I was thinking it quite like Earth, so I don't know whether from the outside of the ship the particles would interact with this here and penetrate into this part and into this part, but offer the protection around here. So you'd think of this as North Pole and the South Pole like on the Earth, and the equator would be here. So I was wondering if it would offer the same protection along the equator, let's say. I don't know 100%, so I was thinking that maybe it would, and if the sun was over here, would it offer the same sort of protection that we have here on Earth that's found naturally? Now I know that there is ozone gas right at the very top, and that protects us quite a bit. So if we was to what do you call it, face a solar flare, let's say, they would come through here. Obviously there would probably be another pressure lock somewhere here, and this is just again like this one, lightweight, and you could maneuver it would maneuver out of the way. Either there would be a section, a gap here, so they could just push through this bit after that, and the airlock would then close there. And this is just to add a little bit more protection. So obviously we can't encase the whole thing in this ozone gas, because I don't know if it would be possible. So just a way to have your door in and out. It might work, it might not, so who knows. But on Earth we have ozone and then hydrogen, so it could be the same principle plus the magnetic field. Maybe it will generate a magnetic field, maybe it won't, I don't know. But usually I've heard scientists say that they would line the walls with their feces, which is, again, a great idea. But what if they just started out and then all of a sudden a solar flare happened? Would they have enough produce in this wall system that they would build with their feces? Would there be enough, was what I'm saying, in the beginning? So who knows? Maybe they could build and stay inside here if this works and it proves to be a success. Again, like I was saying, another way to test that is to have a radiation meter, can't remember what they're called now, REM meter, whatever you call it, inside here, just to see what the radiation is like. Does it minimize it? Does it get rid of it completely? I mean, great job if it does. If it doesn't, does it reduce it somehow? And if it does reduce it, then again, great. How much does it reduce it by? And then do we need more gas, less gas? Does it, the magnetism, is it adding to it, or is it making more particles get in, more radiation come through? Who knows? So again, I don't know. It's trial and error, I believe. But anyway, so these tanks would then detect a flare. So if there is an 8-minute warning, so there would be 8 minutes they'd have to react to it, because I believe there are some satellites that are quite close to the sun that would give them enough information to detect a flare. Again, traveling at the speed of light, the signal that got to the astronauts probably wouldn't work so well. So I'm not 100% sure how that would all work out, so I hope you've got some idea there, NASA, because I just burnt a hole through my own level of thinking, because the signal travels at the speed of light, so it would reach them at the same time, so they wouldn't have 8 minutes, let's say, necessarily. But anyway, going with the theme that we're going with, so either this will be pre-installed and this would stay inflated, or it would inflate as and when required via using a compressor decompressor. So this would pump the gases in. Would they need to be in a liquid form inside here? Keep going until the gas condenses into a liquid, and then we fill this with liquid hydrogen. Ooh, risky. And the same with this one. So liquid hydrogen 3 and liquid hydrogen, let's just call it that. Would that need to be liquid or gas inside here? If so, we would need some level of, how long would one of these bottles last in that state? Hopefully it won't seep. I was hoping that this would be completely airtight. Again, another thing that might help is if we had another slight pocket here with and what you'd fill inside there is nitrogen. Yes, nitrogen, I believe. So you'd put a level of nitrogen in here, and I don't know whether that would just prevent any gases from leaking out. So not 100% sure, but again, it's something I'm thinking about. So again, if you weren't going to use these ones constantly, and that there was some sort of warning system that could be in place, perhaps there's one on the ship that then starts detecting high REMs, and it would then trigger an alarm, which would then activate these compressors to come on and inflate into here and then start condensing the liquid. If so, that would be another great way of doing it. And then the astronauts would climb in and pull this shut, and this here attached to this one is Velcro, so just to push that one open. This one is like a pillow, if you like. It's already attached, inflated to the right level, so they just need to pull on this to close this one off. So again, it could be extra layers of protection, and it would all need to be found out. Whether it works or not is another story entirely. So there you are. Again, these could be worked by solar panels. So if you had some solar panels on the outside there. Whoops, there we go, we're getting slippery on here. So if we had some solar panels on the outside, would they directly feed into these? Can you separate the electromagnetic generator somehow so that we could make the north side here, the south side here, and in between the layers? We really don't want this to attract and crush the astronauts as well, so these would need to be fixed pretty well to the craft. So yeah, this is just a quick diagram, let's say. It's just a quick level of thinking here. Could this work? Is it possible? If so, could you make this on small scale? Could then you find out whether it was successful with your M meter inside before we put the astronauts in there? Yes, this would be normal air that we breathe here on Earth. So the astronauts wouldn't necessarily needed a suit as long as you had a detector that could detect whether there was any leaks from this hydrogen gas. Wouldn't want them to breathe it in. So if there was, and this alarm sounded, they'd have to get inside their spacesuits. So again, their protection is something that I think NASA, European Space Agency, they take very, very, very seriously, and for good reason. So, you know, a high level. I'm not sure about fire risk here and here, so any electricals probably would have to be built in a very specific way. It's not impossible, but it is possible. So yes, safety of these magnets attracting to one another in the middle, possibly. Or if we have them power so that their power leads weren't long, so that if they were to break away, it would stop, because it would be we would be generating this. It wouldn't be like a magnet. So, but it would be like a magnet once we put the current through it. But if the cables were really short and this happened to come off, it's not going to go anywhere, because it would stop generating electromagnetism without electric. So that could be a way around that. Make sure they're definitely secured pretty well. Wall of ozone as well. I've read somewhere, I think this was when making another does it really matter? The lightning device from Tesla, when I was looking at lightning strikes, I believe. Wait, let me get it. And yeah, I got it. So when I was looking at how we could make ozone, to maybe, could we fix the hole in the ozone layer? A great principle was Tesla with his lightning machine. I saw that and thought, if we were to put oxygen in there, and then studying some meteorologists were saying that lightning, when it reacts with oxygen, it creates ozone, as a way to, anyway, so it's off of Tesla's I can't remember what he called it now, but anyway, he had the lightning over to one to another. I've also got that picture as well, so I'm going to grab it. So the genius Tesla and his really, really, really spectacular invention. If you see that here, where you've got the I can't remember what they're called, conductor maybe, I'm not sure, where it's sparking from one to the other, and there is Nikola Tesla. So if you don't know about this, research it. It's very fascinating. So when seeing this and knowing about the hole in the ozone layer led me to look at this and make this. Well, I haven't made this technically. I put this idea out for others to make, and would, if we release this gas once made, would it fix the hole in the ozone layer? That was what the idea generally is for. So again, that's then when I started studying what ozone actually did, it then led me to this level of thinking here, that I think, not 100% sure, but I think it stops some level of radiation from penetrating the Earth, or at least stops the certain types of rays. I don't know, maybe I might be getting a bit confused, but anyway. So I was with that level of thinking from both of these, stage 3. There we go, badong, sorry about that, very unprofessional. And yeah, so it then got me thinking, would it help inside this craft? So who knows, maybe, but it's amazing the way life unfolds. Sometimes you're doing something else, you're looking at one thing, this, and then you're figuring out something else, this to fix a hole in the ozone layer, and then it leads you on to this. So that's I love that about life. I just love the way it all starts to fit together like a massive jigsaw puzzle. and then you get the bigger picture at the end. So yeah, so that's what led me to thinking that level of thinking here with this. So would it work? Probably. Don't see why it wouldn't. And then it's how to build it. Again, that's something else. Another level of thinking. So different types of inflatable material would be great, but at the end of the day, nothing is airtight or gas tight in this case. Oh, that's a mouthful. So would the gases eventually leak? Maybe. So what about if it was in some level of type of plastic? Maybe. What about some type of rubber? Again, possibility. Some type of I don't know, bouncy ball material. I don't know what they often all of this stuff is made out of, but again, could it be another principle that's added in here? And if so, this is why it has the ability to suck the air back into the tank and compress the gas from here and go back into the tank when it's not needed, to store it for another day to save it leaking out, harming the astronauts, or losing this gas in the journey, and after the first use it would be no good. Especially if it was in here, this gas would slowly run out if we were using it all the time. So maybe, maybe not. And again, weight is everything when traveling in space. So the less weight needed, because you're recycling what you have, I think is much more better for long distance travel, and it's better for safety, it's better all round. So this is the level of thinking that's coming from this. So when you're done with it, this will turn off to pump it out. It will pump out, get to a level, condense maybe, and then it will cut out, and it will keep the same pressure. So if it needs a bit more pressure, it will pump a bit more in, and likewise if it gets too hot, the astronauts are warming up a little bit, I don't know, creating some heat, and it starts to inflate on its own accord because gases like to get excited, then we would let some out and it will take some pressure off of here. Likewise with this one in here. And once the solar flare had passed, the astronauts would then leave here, and again this would then suck the gases back out, pop them back into here, and it would wait for another day when they needed it if there was another flare, XYZ, and the same process would happen over and over and over. This would then turn off. You wouldn't need this. Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't, but I don't think you would. And then on with the space travel to Mars or wherever they may be, the moon or whatever. So even if you were to put this into some sort of building construction, so if you made a habitat on the moon, this level of thinking might be what's required in order to have you a permanent base in a place that does not have any protection from the sun's deadly rays. So at the end of the day, if I do more with this, which I may well do, put more levels of input into it, add some more stuff to it, and if I come up with some more, I will scribble another document like this one, and yeah, take it from there basically, and I will make another video. So as I say, a bit of a strange one for me, this one, especially with feces. Is a good idea because it would save them from getting instant cancer, which is brilliant. It protects them, and then when it's landing on Mars, maybe a similar process could be invented for, I don't know, land use. Get some little feet on here, look, and then we can make this for land at least, so it could then become a building. I don't know, perhaps parts of the craft that got them to Mars might be where they live on Mars, and they wait for their return rocket to come to them, and then they'll leave in that one. Who knows? So anyway, it's just an idea, and that's basically what I was thinking this morning, but obviously it stemmed from a bit more thinking from last year, so from those documents. But again, I'm kind of happy the way this all fits together. I like that. I find that very fascinating. So yeah, I'm going to leave this video right here, and I'm going to go on to make my third and final one for today. So excellent, 3 videos, love it. So getting them in the bag, that's brilliant. So yeah, see you in the next one if you stick around. If you don't, well, have a good one. I hope you liked it, and catch you in the next.